People who never knew each other, living in different countries, in decades that never overlapped, and yet they all told disturbingly similar stories. They all reported encounters with strange objects and unknown beings, experiences that simply should not exist. None of them became famous or made money from it. Even so, their stories crossed generations and were officially investigated. Now you're about to discover 8 cases of contact with unknown objects that investigators could not explain. On an ordinary morning in 1994 in Zimbabwe, more than 60 children at an elementary school saw something land near the playground. It was a silent silver object that slowly descended near the school. Some children said small beings came out of it. What intrigued investigators the most was that the children were not all together when they saw it. Some were playing close to the object, others were farther away, yet they all described the exact same sequence of events. Teachers initially believed it was collective imagination until they realized that children who didn't even know each other were giving identical descriptions. The interviews were conducted separately without the children knowing what the others had said. Years later, now as adults, those same children continued to describe the experience with no significant changes. The case caught the attention of Harvard psychiatrist John Mack, a specialist in childhood trauma. He stated that he found no classic signs of fantasy, hysteria, or mutual influence. Many children reported receiving warning messages about the environment and the destruction of the planet, something that, according to teachers, was not part of the local children's cultural background or vocabulary at the time.
The aliens came to warn us that something bad is going to happen to the Earth.
In 1975, Travis Walton was working as a logger in an Arizona forest when a glowing object appeared among the trees. His co-workers saw Travis approach the object and then be struck by a powerful beam of light. Terrified, they ran away, believing Travis had been killed. Minutes later, overwhelmed by fear and guilt, they returned to the site, but Travis had completely disappeared. He remained missing for 5 days. During that time, police suspected his co-workers had murdered him and staged the story. They were interrogated multiple times and subjected to polygraph tests, all of which they passed. When Travis reappeared, he was disoriented, dehydrated, unshaven, and unaware that 5 days had passed. He reported waking up inside an enclosed environment, surrounded by bright lights and humanoid figures. The case became an official investigation, a book, and a movie. But the most disturbing detail is that no one has ever been able to prove it was a hoax.
I think people need to realize that we're not alone in the universe.
In 2004, US Navy fighter pilots trained to identify anything in the sky pursued a white capsule-shaped object. It had no wings, no visible engine, and no detectable heat signature. The object moved in impossible ways, dropping from extreme altitudes to near sea level in seconds and accelerating instantly, ignoring inertia. The phenomenon had been detected by radar days before the visual encounter, appearing and disappearing repeatedly. What impressed the military most was that after the pursuit, the object moved directly to the fleet's classified rendezvous point, information known only to authorized personnel. The encounter was recorded on radar and video. Years later, the Pentagon officially confirmed the footage was real and that the object was never identified. Pilot David Fravor still states today that it did not behave like any known human technology.
There's no propulsion, there's no wings. It rapidly accelerates and disappears.
In the 1960s, Betty and Barney Hill were driving home from a trip when they noticed a strange light following their car at night. At one point, the object got extremely close and stopped in front of them. After that, everything became unclear. They continued driving, but upon arriving home, they realized they had lost nearly 2 hours of time with no clear memory of what happened. Years later, under medical supervision, both underwent separate hypnosis regression sessions without contact with each other. Both revealed that they had been abducted by small beings and subjected to examinations. During one session, Betty drew a star map she claimed to have seen inside the craft. Astronomers later identified similarities to the Zeta Reticuli star system, something not known to the general public at the time. This case became the first widely documented abduction report in modern history and served as the basis for nearly all cases that followed. And to this day, no definitive explanation has closed the case.
The first really dramatic and well-publicized case of alien abduction.
If you're enjoying these mysteries, don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss more curiosities. In January 1996, residents of Varginha reported strange creatures seen in urban areas, described as having dark skin, red eyes, and a strong odor similar to ammonia or sulfur. 3 young women claimed to have seen one of these creatures crouched near a wall. Shortly after, residents reported unusual military activity with army trucks moving through the city. There were reports of military captures and claims that at least one creature was taken to a medical facility. One of the most cited cases involves police officer Marco Cherez, who allegedly participated in the direct capture of one of the beings without wearing gloves. Months later, he died from a severe generalized infection, the cause of which was never fully explained and later became associated with the case by independent investigators. Hospitals in the region reportedly isolated internal areas in the following days, and doctors later anonymously reported unusual situations. The Brazilian army conducted an official investigation that concluded there was no evidence of extraterrestrial contact, attributing the reports to misinterpretation. However, contradictions in official statements over time kept the case alive.
Eu fui chamado para ver paciente, né? Não era ser do nosso planeta, né?
In 1973, two men were fishing at night along the Pascagoula River when they reported seeing a bluish light descending silently from the sky. According to them, the object hovered over the water and robotic-looking creatures with claw-like hands appeared. They said they were paralyzed, unable to move or scream as they were taken inside the object. Police immediately doubted the story and left the two men alone in a room with a hidden recorder, expecting them to admit the lie. Instead, the recording captured genuine panic as the men tried to understand why it had happened to them.
The two men were questioned under hypnosis and lie detectors, but their story remained intact.
In 1955, an entire family arrived terrified at a police station in a small town in Kentucky, claiming small beings were surrounding their house at night. It wasn't a brief sighting, but a siege that lasted for hours. The creatures appeared at windows, doors, and even on the roof. When shot with shotguns, they fell or rolled away, only to stand back up moments later, apparently unharmed. Residents reported that the impacts produced a metallic sound as if the bullets were hitting metal. When police arrived, they found the house riddled with bullet holes, spent shells scattered on the ground, and clear signs of a confrontation. There was no evidence of staging, and the family never attempted to profit from the story, maintaining the same account for the rest of their lives.
It was total terror, chaos, and horror that night.
In December 1980, U.S. military personnel stationed at an airbase in the UK reported strange lights descending over a nearby forest. A group was sent to investigate and found marks on the ground, and a triangular object landed among the trees. The base commander, Colonel Charles Halt, recorded audio while describing what he was seeing in real time, including beams of light moving and being directed toward the ground. Official reports were produced, but later versions showed alterations. The military personnel involved have maintained their accounts for decades, and the case remains one of the few encounters involving multiple military witnesses and official records without a definitive explanation.
330 and the objects are still in the sky, although the one to the side looks like it's losing a little bit of altitude.
Comment below which of these UFO cases you find the most impressive. And check out this other video where I talk about 8 people with abilities that seem to have no explanation.